it's me, MC of Healthy by George, coming to you every Sunday and Thursday. And today, I can't wait to talk to you about this interesting form of therapy for chronic pain. It's called cryotherapy or cold therapy. So don't forget, subscribe, hit the like button, share. That's really all I want to do is share to make health and understanding our health and being as we get older easier, because frankly, it's not easy. So join me here every Sunday and Thursday. And please subscribe. I think it would be great because I like seeing you here every Sunday and Thursday.
Welcome to Healthy by George. I want you to know that this is for informational purposes only, and it should not be considered as medical advice, nor does it have anything related to my employer. So it's always best for you to check with your own medical provider before you do anything that I recommend or for any medical treatments. So please join me, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode.
So what are we talking about when we're talking about cold therapy? I think for most of us, we think about things like an ice pack, one of those cold reusable packages, or putting some kind of homemade together in our Ziploc bags or our frozen peas. And if we have an injury, this cold therapy is a really terrific thing. And why is it that cold works? It does a simple way of managing the impulses of the nerves, slowing them down. It gets to the area where there's a numbing fact of the tissues perhaps, and it helps reduce inflammation. So those are the three key issues about cold therapy. But what's so amazing is that us in our modern sciences, we're learning more and more about how to use cold therapy. And one of the things that I'm not quite sure about is this whole idea of cold plunges, cold showers, and other ways to give yourself some kind of a cold treatment. Now, I have tried the whole idea of getting in the shower, taking the shower, and then go at the very last few minutes or last few seconds, not minutes, let me just tell you, do the cold. And it is invigorating, frankly. If you really want to wake yourself up in the morning, end your shower with cold water. It'll do it. So that's a great way to help re-stimulate your body. And there's a lot of literature that talks about letting that reduce the chronic inflammation that's going on in your body. So I think it's worth a try. Sometimes people have what's called ice cube massages. I don't know about you, but if I had a really intense injury, that would be a possibility to use ice cube massages. I think rehab, they use a lot of ice cubes or ice cube types massages where you're really pressing into the area that's injured with ice cold intensity. The other thing is something my sister used when she had her injured ankle, which is this cold compression boot. And these are devices where if you have an injury to a joint, let's say you've been walking all day or using your shoulder, or you're someone who's a professional tennis player or maybe a professional football or some other type of professional sports, and you have a joint that's really bothering you, but you still need to be staying in your game. You still need to be functioning, whether it's walking, moving, lifting, pushing. And so somehow to go home or later that day after you've been doing all the work, to put this device on the joint, and it has a compression with intense cold. And that's supposed to, again, really help reduce the chronic inflammation, slows down that nerve reaction to the brain, and that reduces the pain intensity. I think a lot of people in rehab, they use this, especially if you've had a broken injury where it's taking a long time to heal or you've had to go back into surgery. These things are really useful tools. The other thing is this new thing, which is cryotherapy. Now, this kind of scares me, to be honest with you, because the degrees that they're talking about you getting into are 100 degrees below, like 100 degrees below zero, kind of like it's super cold, 100, 140. And that when you jump into these cryotherapy kind of big machines, you're going in for 2 minutes maybe and having this intensity of this cold surrounding you from all sides. It's supposed to be terrific to, again, slow down your body's inflammatory response and pain. Anything that'll help us slow down our body's inflammation or chronic pain signals to the area that's injured or hurts is always a positive thing. Now, I know that they have these saunas that are out there that you can go and try, and so it's fairly safe. I don't know, somehow the idea of jumping into something that's super cold doesn't sound like a great thing to do in a spa. I don't know about y'all. Although they do have these things now, they're like these ability to take that cryotherapy coldness and target a joint. Now, I have thought about that. And I think that might be very interesting because there's a little more control of how much cold you get on the body. But again, it's a little bit overwhelming. And I think it's worth it to explore these things because exposing ourselves to cold therapy is really supposed to be terrific in that reducing that chronic pain, inflammatory response that's going on in our body. The other thing that I think is very interesting, which kind of refers back to last Thursday's episode, is this idea of light therapy. When we use low-level light therapy that's cold, it's a whole different approach. You really don't feel anything that like you do if you use light therapy that's like the red light therapy where it's heating up the skin area. This is really cold therapy where you don't feel any kind of warmth whatsoever. Yet you've got red light lasers that are also stimulating the areas that are being targeted. They're low levels of lasers. And actually they have a little bit higher what we call wavelengths of these things inside the device. These are FDA approved. I think that they're very interesting in exploring, especially if you go to a rehab facility or a pain specialist facility where they use some of these devices, like for your knees or your ankle or your shoulders, anything that might give you some kind of reparative energy in that area, slowing down the nerve response, improving the kind of stimulation of the blood flow into the joint, also reducing that inflammatory response that's going on in the joint. I thought that was very fascinating. And in fact, sometimes if there's a dentist or I think some of the acupuncturists where people are afraid of needles, they may use some of this low light therapy to give you some area where you can just quickly treat the dentist or the area for the healing with you. If they use these targeted low light therapy guns or tools, there's like one that was called a pen. Very interesting, but they're super expensive over the counter. I think they run somewhere between $250 to $500. I don't know if I would invest in a low light level therapy device without exploring it maybe at a pain center or with a physical therapist, talking to my doctor and whether it's really valuable to purchase this, because how do you know what you're purchasing? I have no idea. I would need to have more information and do a lot more exploration to see what I was investing in, because that is a good bit of investment. I think I've seen one where it wraps around your knee and it gives you that low-level light therapy to your knee joint. And that seemed pretty interesting to me. I think they have one that's low-level light therapy and also the red light therapy. So, that's certainly something that would be investing in if you thought your rehab doctor or your pain doctor helped you understand what device would be the best to purchase. Because most insurances are not going to cover it. I don't know why this is, because these are things that I think are much safer than taking an over-the-counter, all that Tylenol or Advil and wrecking our stomach and our gut biome. This would be a wonderfully safe tool if that's something that they would recommend. And I think there are ways using our health savings plans that we can plan to purchase some of these devices that would help us. But again, it's not necessarily covered. The other thing that I think that's very interesting is this idea of these immersive, I don't know if I could ever do these immersive cold baths. I know that Joe Rogan and a lot of these athletes, they talk about getting up in the morning and having that ice bath outside and they just jump into it or they put whole bags of ice. Oh no, guys. I'll be honest, I could try it, but I would probably be one of those people that just sticks a leg in and jumps out. I don't know. The idea of getting freezing cold, I'm not sure if that would be something. I would prefer it if it wasn't like the small bathtub. If I could really go and immerse into a cold pool or something and then jump out, that might be enough. But to sit in a cold bathtub full of ice cubes, I don't know about that. But I hear that it's supposed to be extraordinarily helpful, again, not only to stimulate and invigorate your blood flow, but the inflammatory response, to turn that down, to really help slow down your nerve response if you have pain in your joints. If you're up for it, I say try it. There are some cold wraps, which are very useful. I know rehab facilities use these cold wraps where you're able to really get a tight wrap around a joint or an area that's hurting. But ultimately, there are creams and lotions and sprays that provide cold sensation to your area of pain. And those kind of are short term. I know these are often used in medical practices where they're going to maybe inject you with something. They're going to use a cold spray, or in dermatology, they're going to do a procedure. They're going to put a numbing cream or a cold cream on your face or some kind of spray. So, this is an amazing field of investigation to add cold therapy as a possible way of treating our chronic pain, because ultimately we want our inflammatory response in our body to calm down so that we're not constantly feeling a stiff, aching pain in a joint or in somewhere in our bodies where we can get relief. And I think that there's lots of ways of using a toolkit of various things. Maybe you do a mindfulness practice while you put a cold therapy on the area that hurts. Or maybe you do a meditation, or maybe you do a combination of the cold therapy and massage. Or some people do cold and hot and they mix it up. Like they go and do a hot sauna and then jump into the cold bath. There's lots of ways you can explore using cold therapy and heat therapy with the ultimate idea of helping us in a very safe way to get our pain relief. This is MC of Healthy by George, and please join me here every Sunday and Thursday where we can talk about things that are hard to understand when it comes to our health and well-being. But remember, we have this one precious life and we need to live it intentionally. Be well. Bye-bye.
So thank you so much for joining me at Healthy by George. I hope you found the information inspiring and that it encourages you on your wellness journey. Because remember, your body, your well-being are a most precious gift, and every tiny action taken daily can make a huge difference. I hope the information here is educational purposes and is not meant to replace your medical care. See your doctor and talk about what works for you. If you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Your support means the world to me, and it helps me continuing creating content that inspires and empowers you to live your best life. Goodbye for now, and join me again at the next Healthy by George.